All right, and we're live. Welcome, Donna
Welcome.
Piromalli.
That's it.
Did I
Thank
say
you.
it correctly?
Very well. Donna Piromalli.
There we go. From Griffith in New South Wales.
Yes.
Yes, it's been, how long has it been now since we met in Melbourne? Must be like 4 months.
Yeah, it was about 4 months ago.
Yeah. I overheard something about a conversation, I didn't catch it all, that when you were, I know we're going to talk about books and that just now and what you do, but something about you were abducted when you were little or a young adult.
Yeah.
What happened there?
Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah.
There was so much going on. I didn't get to hear the story. What happened?
Yeah. It's always a good conversation starter. Yeah, it's actually a true story. When I was 21, I had a hair salon, and the hair salon was down an arcade which backed onto a laneway. And I was going to my car, and a young man had come up to me, and he had asked me the time. And at that point, when you ask someone the time, they generally look down, at their watch. And he came behind me, and he put a knife to my throat, and he kicked me in the back, and he forced me to the ground. And it was quite horrific. It was a really ordeal. He forced me into my car. And the car I was driving at the moment was, my dad had an old Jeep, and it was American, so everything was on the wrong side, wipers and, how to start, it was all, on the wrong side of the car. So
Well,
I had said, I kind of said to this guy, like, you won't know how to drive this car, but I wanted to be, immediately I clicked in. I thought, if I'm driving, I've got a bit of control here. So he allowed me to drive, and as we were driving, he held the knife into my stomach, and it was really, really quite horrific. And in that moment, it's amazing how quickly you think. And I thought, well, if I drive, up the main street, I can crash into somebody, and I'll be safe. But he turned the steering wheel and made me drive down a road that wasn't as busy, and then he got me to pull over. And I think in that moment, he didn't really know whether he was going to rob me, assault me, do whatever. He was a bit undecided. But I know that when I would scream, he would hurt me more. Or when I tried to fight back, he would hurt me more. But what I noticed was, as I started to talk to him, I just spoke to him like he was like just a normal, person. He kind of relaxed in his body, and he started to listen. And I was able to talk him out of doing any harm to me. So I was very fortunate that he got out of my car, and he threw away the knife, and all was well. So it's a bit of a, when I tell people the story, like, oh my gosh, what really happened? And
no,
but I was
you tell this story quite calmly, but you must have been very scared.
I was extremely scared, and I think in the moment you're just working on adrenaline, and it didn't hit me till after the event. And I went home, and I remember I was still living at home with my parents. I was crying, and they're like, "What happened? What happened?" And we went to the police, and they found the knife, and everything went to court. Unfortunately, he had witnesses to say that he was at home, and he got off with the charges. So that was a real experience for me. Yeah, it was very disappointing, but I do know that later down the track, he did reoffend, and for his offence, he was jailed for what he had done. So finally, justice did come round. But in my instance, even though it wasn't a successful outcome for me at the time, there were so many learning lessons that I did get, along the way. I went and did a self-defense course. I become friends with all the police officers in Griffith. I also learned that, the legal system sometimes isn't a justice system. So it was a real journey. And whilst I'm not traumatized or triggered by it now, I have had, lots of support, and things along the way. So I was very, very fortunate at the time.
Wow, that's sounds like it was. I know you're like a natural born therapist. It sounds like.
Well, it's funny that I think that was, when I think back at the whole thing now, you don't realize that how quickly you read body language,
Okay.
and you read people's intent. And maybe it was my first little opening to therapy, by being able to, gauge a situation and manage it. And I think I was very, very fortunate that he was quite young as well. So I know that as he got older, he did reoffend. So yeah, I was fortunate with that as well.
Oh, that's a hell of a yarn. That's a hell of a story. But at that age, you were like, how old were you then?
I was 21.
And you had your own salon already.
Yeah, so when I started in the hairdressing industry, like from a little child, I always knew that I wanted to be a hairdresser. My parents would buy me dolls, and they'd buy my sister dolls, and my mum's actually still got my dolls, and like all the hair's cut off, washed, matted, a mess, no hair, and my sister's doll, the hair's all perfect. So from a very, very young age, I used to play salons and do hair, and so it was only naturally that I went into the hairdressing industry when I finished school, and from that I was able to get an apprenticeship. And once I had completed my apprenticeship, my boss was having a baby at the time, and she was wanting to sell, so it was just perfect. I think I was 19 at the time, and I went home to my parents and I was like, oh, my boss wants to sell. Can we please buy the salon? That's my goal, my dream. And they trusted in me. And, at a very young age, I remember having about 10 staff at the time, and I was 19. And yeah, it was a lot of people, and it was quite risky. But, I committed to it and saw it through, and yes, made lots of mistakes along the way.
So that's part of business, isn't it?
Yeah. So
I remember you telling me a good story there in Melbourne about how your teacher was saying, you better learn maths, or I forget the topic. You better learn maths, and you better be good at maths, or else all you're going to be is a hairdresser. And you said, you sit there going, that's what I want to do.
Yeah, exactly. She used to use hairdressing as an example of failure. If you don't do well at school, you'll drop out and be nothing but a hairdresser. And I was like,
but at 19 to have 10 people working for you is not bad. Not a bad start.
Yeah. So and I think, thinking back to that teacher, that's possibly where I got the name of my book from, more than just a hairdresser.
Yeah.
Because of the messages that she sent out about the hairdressing industry way back then.
Yeah. So what do they say here? Here the women say, if you're happy that you're happy with your doctor and your hairdresser, then everything's okay.
Well, if you look good, you feel good, and the hairdresser will support you to do that, and the doctor is also there for that.
So how long did you have the salon for?
Approximately 10 years. Towards the end of my career of being a salon owner, it wasn't actually at the end, it was a bit before that. I also had an opportunity to take some classes at TAFE, and then I became a TAFE teacher. So I was a TAFE teacher. I used to teach the apprentices in my hometown and the local surrounding areas. So I did TAFE teaching for 15 years as well. So I had the salon, and I was a TAFE teacher as well. So at TAFE, the apprentices learn all the fundamentals of hairdressing. They could come to TAFE and do extended courses. Like my passion in hairdressing was long hair up styling. So brides and bridals and all that. I just really loved and learning, and I loved, being in that industry. And then I got a little tired of it, so then I had a career change.
So, but as if I understand, when a lady is with a hairdresser, you are kind of a therapist, because I do believe they tend to tell hairdressers all their problems.
Well, yeah, and I think that's how, I got to be where I am today. What I found is I'd really feel quite nervous. So you're cutting clients' hair, and they start to share their personal stories with you, like they may have had a miscarriage, or grandma might have passed away, or they're going through cancer and all their hair's falling out, and you hear, all the after impacts that has on them and their family. And you kind of get to build a friendship with them, and you know their story, and you know everything, and there's such a close, it's like it breaks down the level of like boundaries, I guess, that people have in conversations and their work. It's a closer connection that you have with people, because I think you're touching them, you're in their personal space, and they tend to open up.
So you get to find that they would tell you things in confidence that they may not have told anybody else.
Absolutely, yeah. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, what do I say? What if and I'd go home and like, did I say the wrong thing? I'd never want to upset, the clients, and I'd worry about all of that.
So you went then from that to TAFE, okay, and then you moved on to. Was this part of your growing, this whole thing, you think, from going from having a salon to TAFE?
Yeah,
because
I ended up selling my salon to my apprentice, that one of the apprentices that I put on. She was quite eager and keen and upcoming, and also had that same passion that I did when I was younger. So I was very fortunate that I also worked for her part-time, because when you're a TAFE teacher, you have to show currency. So that means being still in the industry, because so that you don't become dated or old-fashioned with techniques or anything like that. So I worked part-time in the salon after I'd sold it, and continued with TAFE teaching. And then I happened to do a little workshop. One of my friends was hosting an emotional intelligence workshop, and I thought, oh, yeah, well, I'll go to that. That sounds quite interesting. And that's where I heard, all about emotional intelligence, and I thought, wow, I'd never seen the man who took the training, the way that he worked with people, he supported them to really make shifts in their life. It was enlightening, and I was become very, very curious, and I wanted to learn more about the teachings. And then I remember thinking this could really, really help in the hairdressing industry when I have clients going through difficult times, if I, had some, good feedback. And the more I learnt, and, I remember thinking, I don't want to be a counsellor. And he'd say, oh, you should be a counsellor. And I'd be like, no, I could never do that job. But I just loved the learning, and I kept learning and studying and doing courses. And then doors opened again. I had an opportunity to work in a school, so one of the local high schools, and I got to work with year 7 to year 12 students. And from that, I had to do some work placement, and so I went to an Aboriginal medical centre. So I got to work with the Indigenous community and learn different issues that were from the school. So there was, lots more trauma and abuse, heavier kind of caseloads at a school level. From there, I also moved and worked in the area of sexual assault. And then I went to another organisation which did family and relationship counselling. And all these jobs that I had were part-time as I was building my own private practice. And going through getting all those different experiences from those different locations, I now am in full-time private practice.
So you were working at the schools and simultaneously starting your own private practice. Where is that what you were doing?
Yeah. So all these jobs were like 2 days a week or 3 days a week. And I remember at one stage I was at the school. I was building up my own private clients. I was also TAFE teaching and in a hair salon. So something had to give. And bit by bit, I slowly transitioned out of hairdressing. And as I was building up my own private practice. So, yeah.
Okay. So where did the book come from?
The book was, I started studying. Every year I'm always wanting to learn more. I think education, you cannot stop learning, whether it's new modalities, new modalities for counselling or just for my own personal growth. And I did some training with Bob Proctor, and he's all about, goals and setting your goals. And I went to Los Angeles and, was sitting in the audience. There was about 500 people, and he's like yelling at us all from the stage, "What do you want? What do you really, really want?" And I remember writing on a tiny, tiny piece of paper. I was like, I always wanted to write a book one day, and the book be about everything that I know now as like a counsellor that I wished I had known as a hairdresser, or everything that I'd learned through all the trainings and all the courses along the way. And he says, "You tell me what you want and I'll show you how to get there."
So did you go to Los Angeles just for this talk?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a 4-day training.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I went with I think I went with my 2 daughters, and then another time I went over with my whole family. And, whilst they were sightseeing and doing all that, I was, in a seminar training. So, yeah, I just loved it.
About goal setting.
Yeah, and also he did a lot of trainings. Since he passed away last year. Called The Paradigm Shift, and he studied the mind for over 60 years, and the beliefs that we have in the mind, and he calls them, those beliefs are called paradigms that sit in your subconscious mind, and how you can change those paradigms by different techniques and principles.
So was this led on to that chapter in your book about designing your own path? Is that where that came from?
Yeah, and I also use the figure that he talks about, how you got your conscious mind and your subconscious mind, and in there is all those paradigms, and everything's a result in life. So if you're not happy with your current results, whether it's a monetary result, a health result, or a relationship result, he supports you to go back and change your paradigm so you can get different results in life.
So what were the next steps? So you wrote on a piece of paper, "I want to write a book."
I want to write a book. And so then what I learned was, okay, that's well and good to write that on a piece of paper. So I came home, and he said, now, with the goal that you have to give it 100% attention, because, even when I work with my clients now, they might go, like, I've always wanted to be a school teacher, or I've always wanted to be a florist, or I've always wanted to, and they want to be a lot of things. And so then they go, oh, this manifesting, it doesn't really work. But they're not really clear within themselves what they do want, and why do you want that? Like, what for what purpose would you want to do that?
I think that's good. It's the what and the why, isn't it? What do you want to do? But why do you want to do it?
Yeah. And then I remember thinking, well, why do you want to do it? And then there was a whole 7 levels of why. Well, why do you want that? And then you come up with the answer. Then, well, why do you want that? And you're just digging deeper. So Yeah, I came home and I just gave it my 100% attention. And I thought, well, I didn't go to year 12 when I was at school, and, writing wasn't my forte. So I enrolled in a book writing course. And in that course, I learned that you could talk your book. You didn't have to sit in front of a computer and type. And I thought, I'm always looking for an easy option. And I remember learning that the way you write your book is you imagine that you're telling your friend the story. So I'd gone up to the Gold Coast, and, I didn't have, the phone ringing, or there's, housework to be done. I was just walking up and down the beach, and I was talking into an app on my phone, and the app was converting my words to text. And there it was, chapter 1. I'd send it to myself.
Did you find that you had to edit it afterwards, or was it good to go from speaking to it?
No, I did a lot of editing, and I thought, well, this could work better over here, and that example could work better here. And then I did seek some professional editing, someone who to cast their eyes over it and help me to improve on it. And so she was amazing also, and supported me to, open doors to know how to. It's all good to have something down on paper, but how do you get to this?
Yeah,
So
exactly. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So where did you sit, like where you're sitting now, at the keyboard, like where you're sitting now, or do you sit out in the paddock, or where?
Well, I remember I would print it out and go over. I'd print out a chapter at a time and go over it. I'd go over it with her. We had meetings as well. And then when it came to the final chapter, and this was just before COVID hit, I'd gone on a holiday with my husband to Bali, and this was it. This was the final thing. And I thought, I really need to be in a space to totally not be distracted, because once this is ticked off, this is it. So went to Bali and had the time just to sit by the pool and go through it all. And yeah, it was a great opportunity just to go. But there was many moving around and changing words and, trying to improve it.
So did you find that those Long Island teas in Bali helped with the editing?
There was lots of those. Yeah, no, it was good. I went over. I had a highlighter in my hand all the time, but no, it was good. It was an easy process. There was nothing hard about it all. It was quite enjoyable. And I remember the lady who helped me edit it. She said, when you get your first copy, it's going to be, wow, this is what I've been working for. And I remember, when I put my order in, they do send you a copy, for one copy to yourself, the very first copy. And I remember when I had that in my hand, it was pretty cool. And I was like, well, look at that. You go into an area that affords you the opportunity to stretch and grow, and it's scary at the time, but the result is there, and you've got something.
That's interesting. That one, the proof copy, that's what they call the proof copy. So you're supposed to look at that, and that's your absolute final chance to do anything. Okay. And often I found with my books is that there's been something wrong, like the dedication was a muddle or something, and had to change it. But those ones now become collectibles.
Yes.
Because they're slightly flawed. They're not the perfect version. They're pre-perfect, if I can call them that,
Yeah. And like I look back at mine now and I go, I could have said more there, or that was a bit waffly there, or like I think you're always critical. Well, I'm always critical on myself, but and then I think you just gotta let it go, because that's where you were at that point in time. So
are you able to sit anywhere and write, or do you have to go to a special place?
Well, like being at the Queensland or the Gold Coast and being in Bali, I for some reason I have to be not here where could be clothes on the line, or there could be a job to do, or there could be noise. I find that I've got to be in nature. So even when I was proofreading in Bali, it was by a pool and outside, and when I was talking my book, it was walking up and down a beach where you got the sound of the ocean, the sand under your feet, and you're totally like in nature. I feel that works for me.
That's actually quite interesting, because most people have got to go to the same desk, like a religion. Actually, did you have to do that? Like 8 o'clock every day, you picked up your phone and went walking in the bush, or did you, any time of the day?
Yeah, no, I'm probably better in the mornings. I find that I've got more clarity, and so I would, and even here, we don't live by a beach here, but I definitely go for walks, and the mornings I know that I'm probably my sharpest, I'm the clearest, and I don't know. I always think if I'm going to do a job, I prefer to get it done in the morning.
Oh, so but you were running and building your and growing your, what would you call it, your therapy practice? Is that the correct term?
Yes, yeah.
How has that grown? Because I mean, you've sort of gone your own path, haven't you?
Yeah. So I found a new passion, hairdressing. I was getting to my late 30s, and I found that, I don't know, I was just kind of losing the passion that I had. And like I said, when I went to that training and I heard this guy talking on emotional intelligence, I was like it was like when I was a 5-year-old little kid again, another little passion. I become interested again, and then, follow that journey. And it's amazing what doors open. And my end goal was always to be full-time in private practice, which I am. And it's extremely busy. And I think there's not the stigma around mental health as there was years ago. There's counsellors in schools, and there's lots of awareness around people's mental health and support for that, which I think is amazing, compared to how it was many, many years ago. I think if you went to a therapist, years ago, you were probably considered a bit loopy or something like that, but it's not considered that.
Yeah. In one of your chapters, you talk about working smart, not harder. Working smarter, not harder. I mean, that's been mentioned in many other books. What did you do in that?
Working smarter, not harder is about collaborating with people, coming together. It's not finding ways. That's not always time for money. Being able to build like mastermind groups or connect with people who are like-minded, that you can brainstorm together, brainstorm some ideas to not have to do it all alone.
So do you have a lot of connections with in this both in the book world and now in the therapy world?
Absolutely, yeah. There's lots of support in whatever training that you go into, and we have supervision. So there's always lots of support for therapy. And even though I work by myself in private practice, I'm always connected to more learning, more training. There's, like I said, there's lots of support there. The book launch in Melbourne was really amazing too, because that also got me involved and in touch with authors from a different range of different books that they were writing about, and you built connections with them and become Facebook friends, and had little chats here and there, and you know, also opened your mind to other possibilities moving forward. So definitely, I'm always, you know, about connecting with others who are like-minded and supporting one another.
So earlier you mentioned is that, you know, you were being a bit maybe hypercritical of your book and thinking, I should have done this, I should have added this, you know, all of that. Are you going to, what's happening now with book number 2? Are you going to draw on the bits that you missed, or did you thought I should have embellished more, or is it going to be not just a hairdresser 2.0 or totally different topic? What are we going to see? What are we going to look forward to?
I actually had a lot of leftover content that didn't make the book. And yeah, so when I was writing the book, I thought at the time that this book would be really worthwhile if people reading this book, if they wanted to actually reflect on their own lives and improve the results they've got in all different parts of their own life. I actually bought out I'll show you here, it's a companion workbook that goes with the book.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, so there's the book, and then it comes with a bigger workbook. And in this book, you get to, there's some blank pages where you get to reflect over, you know, your career. How's your career going right now? What are 3 positive things that you like about your career? If there's things that you could change or focus on, you know, and by writing things down, it helps to promote ideas. So it's kind of a bit more of a self-help book. So so I have done that. So there's a companion workbook that goes with the book. But also with the leftover content, I actually created an online course. Okay. And the online course is called The Art of Living. And it's a course that you can enroll in, and there's 8 modules. And there are also deeper content, again, to really, really want to change the results in your life.
But Donna, is that on your website?
It is. I have 2 websites. So there's www.donnapiromalli.com.
I must have gone to the wrong one. I didn't recall seeing that.
Yeah, and then there's my therapy website.
So it's on the therapy one, is it?
So the Art of Living program is on my personal Donna Piromalli website.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm in the process of also putting another course together, and it's called The Art of Positive Culture. So it's for businesses, particularly when there might be conflict or personality differences, people not getting along. And it's, you know, having a healthy culture within the organization or small business or hair salon, whatever that business might be. So I'm in the process of putting all the content together for that. I'm also a mediator. So I mediate conflict, whether it's in people's personal lives or at their workplace.
But that workbook, that's not something you would do by walking around talking into your phone. You'd have to sit at a desk to do that.
You know, I sat at the desk and nutted that one out. Yes, definitely.
But with your background, where did you figure out how to do that? Because I was glancing with it through that. How did you figure out how to do that?
I think just from different trainings that I've been to myself, where we've had to, even in my therapy trainings, whatever modality that I've learned to use with clients, we don't generally just practice on our clients. And I always say to my clients, you know, what I do with you has been done with me. So I remember one of my trainers, he would say, you can't shine your light on someone's pathway if you've never shone it on your own. So, you know, I've also, you know, reflected over all different parts of my life and with different trainings and improved areas, improve the results by, number one, knowing what I want by writing it down and then working out a plan to make it happen.
So your online courses, is there a subscription, or is it free, or what is it?
There's a fee involved. I think the first module is free. I'm just in the process of updating my websites, so it's on there. So to be quite honest, I can't remember the fee, but it's not a huge fee to get involved in the online course. But if anyone was interested, they could definitely reach out to me if they wanted to know more about it.
But how did you do that? Did you do the videotaping, like where you're sitting? Is it your face, your voice?
There's lots of attachments. So the first module, I've got them written here. It's called The Genius Within. So it's finding the genius within. So when I thought about putting a course together, I had a big whiteboard, and I thought, well, I'm here and I want to get to here. And I thought, well, what do I want my clients to benefit from doing this course? So it was a bit tricky putting it together, but I think, using my teacher background, we had to lesson plan. We had to, do a whole lesson plan for a whole term of what we were going to teach every week. So I think I had that up my sleeve in being able to know how to do that. And so I knew that there was 8 modules, and so every module is a different topic. So there's information there, there's a short video of me explaining it as well, and there's also opportunities to reflect. One of the modules is called the Natural Counsellor, and I think not just for me in the hairdressing industry, but anyone working in a people industry, you will come across, whether you're working in reception, retail, whatever area, you will come across people who will probably overshare, and you're left wondering, how do I manage this conversation? So there are some tips and tools to be able to do that.
So all your learnings out of teaching how to put a lesson plan together, that was like your storyboard, what in other circles they would call it.
Yeah.
And all of the graphics you got there, where did they come from? That's to just share a bit, though, some of those. I'm curious where all the graphics that I saw when you rifled through the book.
There. So this is a workbook here. And when I thought about writing the book, I came up with a poem, which I shared at the Melbourne book launch. So that was my beginning. But then I branched out and added some imagery to, I'll just find some pictures. So, there is about achieving your goals and how to do it. Things that are inside your control, things that are outside your control, understanding the process around that. It also goes into different personality types, and you have an opportunity to reflect over your own personality type. And that was really interesting because I broke the different personality types down to 4 main ones. So there was a dominant, there was a social. So I've given them names. I've got Deanne dominant, Sally social, Nancy the nitpicker, and Patty the passive person. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to do this on myself. And I sent it to a friend, and we both did our own personality type. And she says, what was your personality? And I was like, what do you think I was? And she goes, oh, you're dominant. And I got the shock of my life, because I thought, does she think I'm bossy boots? Do I really boss people around? And I said that to her, and she said, no, you're goal orientated. You get in, you get the job done. You've got drive, you've got motivation. So in my book, I talk about, the strengths of being that personality type, and also the weaknesses, because when you're aware of the weaknesses, then you can work on that area if you want to. We talk about the wheel of life. So that's all the different parts. You've got your relationships, your career, your environment, your money, your romance, what you do for fun, your health, your fitness, spirituality, And, you know,
what
yeah.
do you do for fun with all of this going on? What do you do for fun?
I love to go on holidays, and you know, every month or every second month, I love to go away. So I just come back from Elton John, so he had his show on. Yeah, so I had the opportunity to see him. Yeah, so I like to get away and catch up with friends. That's always a lot of fun. And I have a daughter who lives in Sydney, so you know, check in, spend time with her as much as possible as well.
And how was the Elton John show?
Sorry, I just didn't hear that.
How was the Elton John show?
Oh, he was amazing. You know, to think that I think he might have had some health issues. He started right at 7:30 and he played all the way through till 10 o'clock. And this particular night that we were there, it was raining. And rain was all falling on his piano and the keys, and they kept coming and wiping it all. He didn't faze him. He just kept playing and singing through it all. He didn't get upset. He didn't, nothing. And he'd go out and he changed his jacket and he was drenched, and then he put like a robe on at the end. It was kind of cute, but he just kept playing through it all.
In your book, I mean, he's a professional.
Yeah.
That epitomizes it. So tell me, so we were asking earlier, what's next? So we got on to what you've done. You've done the book, you've got the 2 workbooks, you've got the online courses. What can we all look forward to next?
You know, I'm sitting with that myself. I am thinking of doing, now that COVID is hopefully, you know, behind us and we're able to meet with groups of people, I am putting some workshops together. So years ago, I used to do workshops with groups of people, which is different to one-on-one therapy. And I'm looking into doing group workshops in Sydney. So looking at, you know,
will there be another book?
I'm not sure. I
Okay.
maybe. I'm always looking. I don't know. Yep, done that. Tick that off the list. Do I continue doing that, or do I look into something new? But I'm quite excited about pulling together some workshops. I've also got another friend who will be doing those workshops with me, and we both come with different strength areas, and I think pulling us both together, you know, can really, really be. We can put on a great workshop for people.
So where will you go? Would you go down to Sydney and up to Brisbane from where you are?
Probably in Sydney at this stage, and then we'll just let that unfold and see where that goes.
Okay, all right. How far are you from Sydney?
Driving, it's probably a 6-hour drive, but the flight, yeah, the flight's only an hour and a half, so it's not hard to get there. All
right. Okay, I think we're all going to look forward to that.
Yeah, so
I'm looking forward to. So I'm going to spur you on to write another book. I'll take you off on that one.
Well, you know what? It's there niggling. I just I'm sitting with it at the moment. So it's not a no. It's I'm sitting with the idea of what my next would be.
Great. Well, on that note, I'm going to bid you farewell, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much, Mike. And you know, for anyone listening out there, you really have to check out Mike's books also. Mike Mackay, Scam at 5 Mile River and Scam at Old River. And you're amazing. So, you know, your books are a credit to you also.
No, thanks very much, Donna. All right. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.